Okay, so let's start deboxing this blocky object or block object that we have created. So first is I have already copied my file locations. I already copied the address. So the first step will be to create a backup for this. So this is plate 1. I'll just go to File, Save Scene As, and then I'll go to my address. Then I'll just save it as plate number 2. Saving it. Yes, replacing that. And now the next thing to do is I will select these. I will create an in-file backup. So I'll select all of these initial objects that I have created, and then I will just go to my modeling toolkit, and then I'll choose combine, click that, and then afterwards, tapping spacebar, I will push it away from the references for now. There. And then after I push that away, I'll just press shift and create a working object for me. So this is going to be the object that I will be deblocking, and this is going to be my in-file backup. Now let me organize this. I'll just rename this first. So while I have it selected, I'll go to the outliner, and there it is. I'll just name it SG_01. So this is my 3D, my block backup control, sorry. And then I'll select the other one, and then I'll just choose separate. Next is I will select the two of them, and then I will choose edit, delete all by type, history, so that I clear out my outliner. And then I'll just select this. This is for my working object. I will have that removed by selecting this, all of these subparts, middle mouse and dragging it outside. There it is, and then deleting this group holder or placeholder. I will select my backup object and press Ctrl H to hide them. Save my scene. And now this, I'll just position this in the outliner. I'll type in 0 so that it will be at the center of 3D space. Next, I will change the layout. I don't need to see all of the 4 viewports now. So I'll just go to my panels. I'll choose layouts, and then I will choose the 2 panes side by side. There, when I select the 2 panes side by side, now I only have 2 views. Press select and press F. So this is my top view or orthographic view. I can change that, panels, orthographic, and then I can change it to, let's say, front. So now I'm looking at the front reference. So to start with, I will debox this object. So from basic object, I will start adding my edges and polygons so that this will become a more rounded shape object following the reference. So I'll select all of it. I'll deselect, holding Control and drag, deselect that object, Control H to hide it. Now I'll select this, and then to debox this, I will simply switch to the selection tool by pressing Q, and then I will choose the edge selection tool so that I can select the horizontal edges. After I select the horizontal edges, I'll go down here and I'll choose connect. The connect settings, I'll press number 2, or I'll set it to 2 connections, and then it will create 2 connections there, or 2 set of edges. So once you have done that, I'll press the selection tool, or the shortcut is Q, and I'll switch to the vertex selection. In the vertex selection, I'll start selecting the corners first, right? W for move tool, and then I'll drag this up so that I can slowly follow the reference, and then I'll just press the R or scale tool, carefully angle it that way, following the reference once more, and then I'll just press W again to raise it up, and then I'll select the middle portion to drag it also. Select these, hold shift, select the other end, R scale. I do that for symmetrical movements. Then I'll press Q, and then object mode, press W, and then I see that my object is not in the center, or the reference is not in the center of the object. So what I'll do is I'll drag the reference a bit to adjust it. The object is at the center of the 3D space. That's why I am using it as a reference to align for the alignment. Next, after that, spacebar, I will add further some edges here so that the roundness for the other corners will be achieved. So what I will do, again, I'll just switch to the selection tool, pressing Q, and then I'll just select the edge selection. I'll select one of these standing edges, and then I'll hold shift and double click the next. I'll just do this, hold shift, double click the next, and then I'll just do connect. And in the connect settings, I will still retain, or I will keep number 2 value, and then press Q for selection tool. Now I have this. Okay, then I will switch back, holding control. I'll select the vertex selection, and then I will deselect the front ones. This, hold control and deselect the front vertices. I just need the side. I don't also need the front vertices here. There, I only need those. And then I will just press R and then rescale there to make it a bit round. I'll get these two also, hold control there, hold control this one, the corners only, press F to focus on selected, and then drag. There it is, the roundness for that is achieved. Pressing Q for selection tool, and then going back to object selection, I'll switch to panels orthographic, and I'll choose side view. Oops, this needs to be updated. If it is flipping like that, I'll just go back to my attributes, look at my file, it should be here, side 2. So I'll just go back to my reference folder, it should be gun side 2. That's it. Press open and it's there. If those things happens, all you need to do is just re-upload your reference. So now that I'm done with this part, I will now switch. I'll select the rest, shift H. This time I'll select the cylinders. After I've selected the cylinders, or I'll just select all of these and then deselect the cylinders by holding control and then control H to hide the rest. So now this time I'll work on the cylinders or the barrels of the gun part. So far I'll just adjust this in accordance to the reference. I'll switch to panels orthographic front view, and then I'll go back to my modeling toolkit, and then here I can delete this other object here. I'll press W and I'll press delete, because all I need is just to work on one and then duplicate it later. W for move, and then I'll just press the plus sign to see there. Okay, so what I'll do first is that I need to move this as a whole object. Yeah, I'll just need to move it away a little from the center so that it's not too much at the center. There, back to object mode, plus sign. There, it's not too near now at the center. I'm checking by using this. This is the gizmo. Then, let me reduce that. After that, I will start deleting polygons that I don't need. For example, I'll switch to the polygon selection. I'll select all of these, and then I will hold control and deselect these polygons because I need to hollow out the center of this, deleting that way. Okay, and then the next thing I'll do is to add thickness to this. So to be able to add thickness to that, I will just hold the polygons, the edge selection, maximize this view again, the perspective, drag and select all, and then deselect the ones that I don't need, and then I can press R to scale, and then I will scale along this, right? The intersection of this axis and this axis is this. There, I will hold shift and I will drag along so that it extrudes as I drag. So that's how I can add thickness to the barrel, but still it is hollow from within. So we need to bridge those two edges there. So I will just switch this to X-ray mode. So I need to bridge those two inner edges now. So I'll just choose bridge here. Press Q to go back to the selection mode, and now I have this. Space bar, looking at the reference at the side. There. So as I can see here, it is slightly increasing. I'll just select the vertices. So I can press R here, resize that, and then here I need to slightly increase the size through this intersection here. Yeah, that's going to be fine a bit. Yeah, a little. Okay, and then W for move, dragging this forward. There. I'll switch to the front view so I can look at my object once more. There, and then I'll use the move tool, double checking it. Double checking. Oops, it's getting too near again. So I can just go back to the polygon selection, and then I can deselect what I don't need. I only need that size, and then I'll just resize a bit. Press R to scale, and I'll just resize this a little bit. There. There, okay. Next, I can select this front if I prefer to, and then from here I can also resize a little bit to fit that inner circle. Okay, so now we're done with that. Here, saving the work, W. So to duplicate this and having it positioned at the other side precisely, all I need to do is select it. In object level mode, I'll go to edit and I'll choose duplicate special. I'll choose the settings. I'll reset the settings so that I can start by setting it to copy, keeping it as parent, and then down here, this is the move, the rotate, and the scale. If I put a negative value here, -1, it means it will flip on the negative or on the X side. So this is X, Y, Z also. So this means it will flip on the other side. I'll just click apply there. So it duplicates by flipping on to the other side. So now I have those two barrels together modeled. So it's now done. Double checking. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is I can bring out the rest of my objects. Right. So I'm done with the barrel. I'm done with the forehand. So it's time to do the chamber. So I'll just select all of this, deselect the chamber, and then I'll press Ctrl H to hide the rest. Selecting the chamber here. So what I'll do next is panels orthographic, looking at the side view, pressing F to focus on selected, and then I'll slightly select the side view to drag it forward a little bit so it aligns with my object there. So next thing is, what I'll do next is select this, select the edges, select the horizontal ones here, and then I'll just go to connect. I'll choose two connections again, and then switch to the scale tool, R, and then I'll just rescale this so that they will be dragged away from each other, like so. So you can see here, there's a slight angle in the reference, so I'll be able to achieve that. I'll just switch to the selection tool, and then I'll switch to polygon selection. So once more, I'll select all of the polygons or faces, and then I'll hold Control and deselect the sides so that I only have the front and the back selected. And then I'll press R, scale again on this intersection here so that I can resize it and create that angle at the corners. There. And then I'll press Q. Then I'll switch to the move tool, saving work, W for move, there it is. So now I have followed that detail. Okay, so checking in again, Shift H. So I have done or debox this or deblock these parts. So now I'll just hold Control, hold Shift and select, and Control H to hide. So we'll talk about this part. This part was achieved just by a series of extrusions. Let me just repeat it to you. I'll just show it this way. I'll delete this, for example. So this is the box edge selection. So if you have something like this in your situation, so there's a part of the box that's missing, a face. So all you need to do is just switch to the edge selection, select an opposite edge, and then you just choose bridge, and it creates you a new polygon there. So next is, now I'll switch to the polygon selection, pressing Q and selecting this part here. So each time there is a contour here, you start a new extrusion. So for example, I'll press W for move tool, I'll hold Shift and drag forward here, or dragging it towards the right of the screen. So now there's that contour. Next is, I'll hold Shift and drag. So there's another here. So I'll just hold Shift and drag for those two. And then I'll hold Shift and drag once more here. So each and every time there's a contour, you start over. Oops, this one also. So I'll just drag this back there. So that's for that contour there. Hold Shift there. So those for two angles. And hold Shift, and we're done. So after extruding the face, you just switch to the vertex selection, and then you start selecting the vertices, and using the move tool, you start moving them to follow the reference. Okay? So here, for example, I'll select the bottom vertices and start moving them accordingly. But for vertices such as this, with symmetrical movement, I use the scale tool so that I can pull them together there. So now I have followed the reference. I'll just switch down here for this. This is going to be for the polygon. Q, select this. W for move tool, Shift and drag down there. And then I'll press R, scale to fit it. W for move, and there we go. Okay, next thing is, I will switch to the top view, panels, orthographic, and then top view. So in the top view, what I notice is there is an extension of this portion going through the handle or the wood stock. So I am supposed to extrude it up to there. So it is dividing the wood handle or stock of the gun into two, and there is a steel separating it from here. So I do that by adding this edge here, or selecting the edge And from the top view, I will select this horizontal edges here, and I will start doing my connections. Still retaining the two connection, I'll press R to scale because I need to rescale using the vertices. I need to rescale all of this just to fit a little onto the reference. And then I will space bar switch to another view. I'll switch to the polygon selection here, and then I'll switch to the side view here in my reference view because I need this end to be extruded. So I will select the middle part there, and then following here, all I need to do is use the move tool for W, hold shift and drag, and there it is. I start to extrude following the reference. So all I need to do is, after I've extruded, I reposition it by pressing E for rotate here, following the angle, and then pressing R for scaling along this axis here, right? And then W once more, shift click drag along that angle or direction, pressing E to rotate it to follow the reference, pressing R there, W for move a little bit, and then shift click drag here, and then I press E, drag here, and then I press R, scale here a bit, W for move, and then shift click drag here. Then I switch to E, rotate, and then I switch to vertices. In the vertices, I use the move tool to further adjust and adjust. So there, I was able to achieve the reference or follow the reference, and this is what it looks like in 3D view. If I bring out the other objects, so this means I do not need this initial object that I've created earlier, but I do need the wooden parts here so I can model them. So I need to model them precisely. So what I'll do, I'll just select this, delete that, select this, and then I will start by turning on the face selection or polygon selection, pressing Q just to select properly, and then I'll select these sides so that I can create objects precisely in such positions. Okay, so the next thing that I will do is, once you have these polygons selected, the next thing to do is just go for edit mesh, and then please choose in edit mesh duplicate, clicking that. So I have duplicated the selected polygons only, pressing Q for the selection tool, and then if I click, switch to the object mode. If I click, so there's your newly created polygon. Okay, right. I'll just do the same at the other side. Polygon selection. I can press Shift Control A to select all of them, and then I can just tap and go to the top view, panels, orthographic, top view. So for a quicker way of deselecting things, I can just press Control and drag along here at this side. So that selects it faster. And then again, having these selected, I'll just quickly switch to edit mesh, and then I'll choose duplicate. Q for selection, W for the move tool, going back to the object selection, and there, I have it there. Okay, now the next thing is I will duplicate these objects. So now that I have this newly created object selected, I'll go to I'll go to shift and drag along here so that I can duplicate it. Okay, not worrying about the position yet. So the next thing that I will do is I'll select this so that we can form the object, the wooden parts here. So I will select this, switch to polygon selection, and then I'll press shift, right click, and then I'll choose face normals, and then I'll choose reverse normals. This is so that we can bridge them. Okay, so I'll do the same at the other side. I'll select this, I'll hold W for move tool, shift click drag, there it is. So again, I'll select the other side, polygon selection, and then I'll just press shift right click, and I'll choose face normals, and I'll choose reverse normals. So now those polygons are normals or facing each other. So the next thing is I'll select this polygon and the opposite. Oops. Hold shift and select, and then I'll choose combine. Once you have them combined, now you can select the edge and select the outer, or double click the outer edge so that you select their loops. I'll do the same on the other side, hold shift and double click. So now those edge loops are selected. I'll just choose bridge, press Q, there. Next thing is I'll do the same on the other side, selecting those two, combining them, selecting edge, double clicking the loops. After I double click the loops, I go for the bridge, press Q, there. Next is I'll press letter D. Sorry. The next thing is I will turn on the vertex selection. So this will allow me to select these vertices here, there, for example, so that I can precisely position them on this side. So what I'll do is I can initially move them inwards, for example, like this, right? So I can see where they will be going. And then I'll press letter D so that I can move the gizmo. And then I will press the, here, this is the point snap or vertex snap. So once I have the D, or activating my gizmo, and I can place my gizmo onto this handle, which is the vertex, right? So now, while I have the gizmo on that portion, I'll press D to activate the gizmo and drag it along here. Excuse me. Next thing, I'll do it on the other side. I'll do the same. Excuse me. I'll just select the vertex selection and then select this side here. And then I'll just push it here. Oops, sorry. Turning off the snaps first so that we can easily move things. Sorry for that. There. So now, once more, I'll press D, turn on the snap, drag it along here, D, and then let me just drag. There it is. And then I'll press D, oops, sorry, and then I'll press the vertex snap. There. So now we have this, right? Next is, let's just follow the reference. So this means we still need to slide these vertices here. So I will do this. I'll select these two wooden portions of the handle, and then I'll just combine them so they are now just one object. After I have them combined, I'll press the vertex selection, and then I will just I'll just switch to the edge selection, and I will start selecting this one. Pressing Q, double select this, hold shift, double click the next, I have selected the ring. Again, this, double click the next. So I've selected the ring connection, and then I'll just choose connect. I'll choose one only, and then switch to the Q or selection tool. This time I switch to the vertices. So in the vertex selection, what I'll do next is I'll just switch to the lasso selection, so that I can do a freehand selection, right, of the corners. So let's say if I'll do a freehand selection of the corners like that, okay, but I will also be doing a freehand deselecting of these other vertices that we don't need. So let's say this one, don't need that, this one, don't need this, there. So there it is. And then on this panels, orthographic, and then at the side, now I need to raise this there up. I'll just switch to the transform constraint here and choose the edge slide. It will allow me to slide along the edges. Now as I press W and drag it, see, so it starts to slide. If you will look here carefully, it is sliding to an angle there. If we will check panels, orthographic, and go for the top view reference there, so we can see that it is following the reference that we have. Okay, since I have that followed, I can turn off the edge slide now, right? I can go back to the perspective view here, switching off the wireframe mode. So now I have debox the base of my object, right? So the next thing to do is to model. I just need to model this mechanical or functioning parts of the object, wherein I can also take from here. So for example, if I am going to model that, I'll just select this middle part here, and then I'll choose to take some polygons like this. Excuse me. And then I will just go once more to edit mesh and choose duplicate. So I have duplicated those meshes or polygons here. Now I have that. All I need to do is press W for move tool, and then I can press tools reset so it goes at the center, close it, and then I'll just drag it down, and you will see now I have a new set of polygons there. I can hide the rest of the objects, right? I can select that, I can deselect this, and then I can control H and hide, and now I have that. F, there it is. So now I have this. Okay, so since I have that, all I need to do is switch to the vertex and start fitting it onto the reference to start with. Excuse me. I'm just starting to fit it in, fitting it in. Let's say I'll just fit this until here, right? The vertex that I have, checking it at the view, let's say there. Let's just equalize the position of these vertices there. Okay, so now that I have that, next thing I'll do is I'll select all of it, and then let's try having an extrude. Extrude point what for the thickness, 0.05. Yeah, I think that's fine. And then I'll just press Q for selection tool or here, and then I have this new polygon. Vertex position here, I'll W, move it here, And now I'm getting ready for the rest of the object to be modeled here. So the process is just going to be polygon extrude and then vertex move. So that's just going to be the steps that we will be doing here. For example, I will switch to the polygon selection. I'll select that, deselect this. So that's the polygon. So since it is polygon, I'll just shift right click, that's extrude. And then I'll switch to the vertex selection, therefore it is move. So I extrude to create polygons, and then I switch to the vertex and move the vertices that I have created through the polygon. So like this, R scale, like that. It's just continuous. Okay, so again here, Q, select, W, shift click, drag down, W, move here, vertex, so vertex here. So it's just repetitive, right? So polygon, select that, deselect this, so shift click, drag, I have it. Then vertex to move or arrange what I have extruded. Go back to polygon, select, deselect, shift click, drag, R scale to even it out, vertex to move it carefully, and then again select that polygon, deselect this portion, and then I'll just shift click, drag. Yeah, I think that's a straight poly there. Excuse me. Vertex to adjust, polygon, select, deselect, shift click, drag, vertex, right, like this. Polygon selection, select, deselect, shift click, drag. Now let's say I'll do here, and then I'll do another one here, so that there will be a splitting direction. R, scaling it a bit here, W for move there. So next is I'll just select the polygon here, deselect from here, shift click, drag, vertex here. So it's just select and move, select and extrude, polygon, select, deselect, extrude, vertex, select and move. So just one more, select, deselect, shift click, drag, vertex on here, there. And then I'll just do polygon selection, deselect and deselect those. So what I'll do is I'll just bridge this to close, Q, there. So now I have this, right? So now that I have that, all I need to do is just continue on to the other side, polygon selection. This time I select and deselect this, W, shift click, drag, shift click, drag once more, R, scale, vertex, W, polygon, shift click, drag, vertex, shift click, drag, polygon, select, deselect, shift click, drag, and there. Select, deselect, shift click, drag, R, scale, raise up, W for move, and then here. scale, double. So now I have this. I can use my other object as a reference. There it is, Shift H, there. Okay, sorry about that. So that's where the problem starts, when you have too much object. So let's fix that later. But what I need to do here is I will just, or I can sorry, select this here, just use it as a guide. So I'll select this polygon here, right? Selecting that, deselecting this, shift click drag. So there, press R, scale, there it is. W, shift, another shift, R, and scaling it in, W, dragging it down. There it is. Next thing, I can also get from this object for the trigger. I'll just select this, and then I'll just, again, once more, edit mesh, duplicate that selected object, and then I can select it there, here, W, go to tools and reset so that it's at the center once more. There it is. So I can just select the polygon, shift click drag, and there it is. Easy extrusion or quick extrusion can be done, right? So if I just look at it, it's a bit, it needs to be flipped. If you look at it there, right, it needs to be flipped. So I can just select that, shift right click, face normals, reverse normals. So now it is flipped. Okay, now I'll just raise it up again, and I will just use the edge selection so that I can just select and connect. Let's create two connections once more, and then use the vertices that we have there for it. So the vertices selected, drag, there. There it is. And then I'm just sliding this a bit so that the curve be achieved, and then I can select the top of that polygon, and I can shift once more and shift, or then I can start dragging there, saving the work, and then I can press R and scale it, thin it a bit there, so that now object or all of my moving parts or my mechanical parts so far are modeled. So I can select all of these now. So the crowded, so to avoid this crowded outliner, I'll just select all of these objects once more, go to edit, delete all by type history. See, it got lessened, and then I can select and open so that I can separate these important polygons from these placeholders. I'll just drag them outside, and then now I'm just checking if I can delete them there. So now this is my debox or deblocked object. If you will open your initial object there, you will actually see the improvement that you're able to achieve with your deblocking stage. Okay, oops, so almost forgot this part. Let's check. Yeah, I think I need to curve this part. This part needs to be curved a bit there. Okay, saving work. So now this is my deboxed level, and this is my blocked level. Okay.